Hi everyone, my name is Sean Petzer and I am the General Manager for Tower Africa. In the last few years, I've really been amazed at how getting pharmaceuticals or any form of medicine to the end users in Africa can often be at a massive risk to that end user or the patient. And in light of what we see now in the world with the COVID-19 vaccine, we've taken a solution that we've had for easily the last 11, 12 years, and we've adapted it to those specific needs around the COVID-19 vaccine. But I hope that from what I'm about to show you, that you will be able to see how the solution can evolve to anyone's needs for any form of distribution of temperature-controlled pharmaceuticals. And that's why we truly believe we have a real door-to-door solution to freight, long-term store, and distribute the COVID-19 vaccine into Africa. So on a high level, Tower Cold Chain differentiates itself in a number of ways. And one of the things is that we are a passive system, which means we do not need to be plugged in. We do not need some form of external power, no batteries or anything like that in order to operate. In fact, we use phase change materials instead of the likes of water-based gels. And the beauty of phase change material is that when set at a specific temperature, your cargo or the pharmaceutical can be placed directly onto the plates, which eliminates excessive packaging and maximizes load space. It's a reusable system, and you will see a bit later as to why we more focus on reusable systems as to once-off, and we try to also eliminate in-transit intervention. So meaning throughout the use of the box, there's no need for human interaction or intervention in order to keep the box working. We have no mechanical parts that fail or require any maintenance, and it's an incredibly simple solution. A lot of the time and the effort, the engineering, the science has all gone into the build and the qualification and the validation of the box, but the actual use of the box is incredibly simple. We offer 4 key temperature ranges: your ambient or your controlled room temperature of +15 to +25, your refrigerated of +2 to +8, your frozen of -15 to -25. Now, for all 3 of those temperature ranges, we use our phase change materials. But we've had a deep frozen or an ultra low solution for the last 11 years in 2 of our key systems. And unfortunately, we can't get away from dry ice in order to achieve that temperature. But the key thing when we use dry ice is that when you stock the unit with dry ice, there is no need to replenish the dry ice during use. So all our units were validated at 120 hours. That's 120 hours or 5 days, whereby there is no need to replenish dry ice through that period of time. We have a variety of different sizes, ranging from 10 liters to 2,300 liters or double pallet loads. Every unit has a built-in temperature logger, data logger, and our units are not seasonal. And by that, we're saying that how you would condition a box on the 10th of July in the middle of Moscow, or should I say at the 10th of January in the middle of Moscow versus conditioning at the 10th of January in the middle of Africa, it's the same process, irrespective of how cold it is or how warm it is on the outside. While we validate for 120 hours, we are really proud of the fact that we undersell and over-deliver, because in most cases we perform at excess of 200 hours. And in most experiences or real life scenarios, we've seen our units perform in around 10 days. We have real data performance to show you that all of this happens within extreme temperatures. In some examples, in excess of +60 degrees Celsius, which when talking about Africa, we need to comply with the World Health Organization's requirement of a minimum of +45 degrees. And our units perform beautifully under those conditions. So as a company, we offer a very flexible supply chain solution with world-class leading compliance. We're looking at multiple forms or sizes of commodities, different palletized loads, compatible with different size aircraft. But once in country, our boxes are perfectly suited for as a trucking solution. And on that point, I'd like to just sit there for just a minute there, because in order to obtain a temperature-controlled vehicle, should you have a temperature-controlled vehicle that is refrigerated or 2 to 8, you're obviously restricted that you can only place 2 to 8 commodities inside it. So if you've got 2 commodities of different temperature, you suddenly need 2 vehicles. But even at the same temperature, some products cannot be in the same environment or in the same vehicle simply because of cross-contamination or whatever negative effects it might have. Because every one of our boxes are standalone units, you can actually take, let's just say, for all intents and purposes, a large Superlink flat deck truck. You could convert that truck into a multiple temperature vehicle of 4 different temperature ranges. That means you could have 2 to 8, plus 15 to plus 25, minus 15 to minus 25, and ultra low minus 80, all on one vehicle. And you can put commodities that generally cannot be in the same environment because of cross contamination, all on the same vehicle, because our boxes prevent cross contamination. So converting any vehicle into a temperature controlled vehicle, plus giving you the ability to load any other cargo or any other supplier, should I say, that is not necessarily temperature controlled, you're maximizing the load of trucks, and you're able to build milk runs and better planning. And this obviously has such a good effect, should I say, on all your costs and your running capabilities in whatever environment you're working in. So we really are about partnership through customizable mix of units, customizable mix of temperatures. We provide ongoing training, staff, maintenance support, and we offer that through a rental agreement. The key thing about a rental solution is that to us, it doesn't matter how long that rental solution will be. We ideally want to be renting to a customer forever. But the beauty about renting is that you might have a primary need for, let's say, 10 of our double pallet loaders, and suddenly there's a need for 2 more, or there's a need for another type of unit. You would not be expected then to buy those units and keep them and never use them again. What we're really trying to provide is a solution that is flexible to your needs. We can add to it, we can remove from it, and as you grow and as you evolve in your needs, we're able to adapt accordingly. And that's quite important. And you'll see that later down the line when I talk about the impact of ultra low freezers and the massive investment we're seeing taking place all over the world when it comes to ultra low freezers. But at the same time, massive demand because of the sheer volumes that we require so urgently for countries to have to invest into even general normal refrigerated infrastructure that could quite potentially be redundant in a couple of months' time or 2 years' time, simply because the demand volumes or for that specific product has now stabilized and has subsided. So let me go further and explain to you how our different boxes look. The KT400 on the left and the KT70 on the right are our top loader boxes. They're sub-pallet boxes. These two units haven't changed really in design or performance ability in the last 12 years. They just work so well time and time and time again. And these were the two original units whereby we were offering a minus 80-degree solution. But we can also, using our phase change materials, we can do frozen, refrigerated, and ambient. Then we have our pallet loaders. And in our pallet loaders, we have 2 doors on the sides. The doors open like a cupboard, so to speak, and the cargo is loaded on an actual pallet. Because of the 2 doors, you can actually pick and pack by hand, and you can remove certain parts of the entire consignment as opposed to the entire consignment. But the beauty about being able to load it with a forklift is that loading takes a couple of seconds, 30 seconds to load a single pallet load, no problem whatsoever. From there, we move into a full pallet load, and then from there, we move into a double pallet load. And every one of our units are performing the same way at all times. A new solution in our range is our KTE range. Those are our 10-liter boxes and our 30-liter boxes. Each of them are validated for 120 hours, generally exceeding those on most occasions, but they can be converted to larger volume by removing some of the phase change material. That does reduce its performance time of the box, but what we're finding is that an 18-liter box is going to far exceed 24 hours anyway. These boxes are ideally suited for your last mile, for the frontline worker, the nurse, or whatever it might be, where the final administration of any pharmaceutical takes place. Now, every single one of our boxes, irrespective of the size, has a built-in data logger. Built-in is key. There's no need to remove the box, and there's no risk of there's no need to remove the logger, but there's also no risk of losing the logger. Every unit is fully integrated, has an external display, as you can see on the right there. That is an example of what a display looks like on the outside of our unit. And it allows for in-transit compliance checks and online delivery sign-off purely from what we see. So an average visual logger will offer you, it will show you the minimum, the maximum, the current temperature of that unit on the inside. And everything is interacted via Bluetooth. So in order to do a download, whether we in transit or post shipment, via Bluetooth capability of any unit, any solution, doesn't have to be an iPhone or a Samsung. You can then generate a PDF document that will show you every 15-minute data reading, both on the inside and on the outside of the box. That is time, date, time and date stamped, and that all that data is actually plotted on a graph, whereby you can see what's happening on the inside and on the outside of that box throughout. It's a complete 21 CR compliant solution, and it meets all GDP requirements. But with our developments that we are currently focused on, we'll be the first solution with a -80 degree ultra low data logger. We are looking at GPS tracking solutions, whereby you will be able to track your unit up to 5 meters. Again, no human interaction, all via Bluetooth. And every data logger has a serial number that is linked to the serial number of the unit that it's installed in. So everything's trackable, track and traceable, auditable, and the unit, the actual logs themselves only need to be calibrated every 6 months. So overall, we offer a very simple process, giving you the same performance irrespective of size, time again. But these boxes are incredibly tough and incredibly robust. The unfortunate situation in Africa is that there is poor infrastructure in many areas, and the availability of a good forklift, or a forklift at all for that matter, does require a packaging solution that can withstand the bumps and the challenges that Africa provides them. All units have a 5-meter safety drop test. They're deliberately not collapsible in order so that they are always going to be robust, but at the same time, any box that is collapsible has seams that ultimately provide a risk. We don't have that issue. They're very easy to use. One person can actually prepare a box within 10 minutes, and once that is done, the box requires to stand for 1 hour, and then it can be loaded. So essentially 1 hour, 10 minutes, and any box can be bricked and loaded. It's not seasonal. It's the same temperature, same process for all temperatures that use phase change material, and a slight change on our ultra low, where we use dry ice, without any risk, however, to the user itself. So this is just a real practical or basic way of having a look at how the boxes work. The doors open on both sides. You can see that those orange plates on the inside are the actual phase change plates. And in this case, it's a double pallet loader loaded by a forklift on the pallet into the box, which takes a couple of seconds. The boxes are closed. Every box is lockable, every box is sealable and traceable. So when looking at Africa, we realize that getting the vaccines into country isn't the problem. Every country has some access to a international airport, and there are basic trucking services within major cities. The problem comes in where, first of all, we have a -80 degree solution, or -80 degree pharmaceutical product. That often demands specialized infrastructure, training, and massive investment. We've had a look at the cost of a standard 1,000-liter upright freezer at costing around about $8,000. And we believe that you would need 2.5 times that upright freezer, 2.5 upright freezers, essentially to get the same payload as one of our double pallet loaders. Yet our cost for the rental of a double pallet loader is roughly 15% of the cost to buy one upright freezer. So we are incredibly cheap in comparison, but we also offer other solutions to that, which I'll touch on. The problem with investing into masses of ultra low freezers, or even larger freezers that may or may not be required down the line, is that they become essentially redundant within the next 18 months. So there is a requirement for investment. However, every country has walk-in freezers, every country has refrigerators, and that's because every country would have some or other requirement to store food. And we've looked at a way of leveraging off the infrastructure that already exists in different countries and provide a solution for long-term storage. So what we're really saying is, what if you could have a validated freight solution into country, a validated flexible long-term solution for storage, a validated flexible trucking solution, a validated distribution solution, and the ability to swap or change to validated multiple temperatures as your demand changes. So how would we build that solution? So let's assume the worst possible case scenario. Let's assume that the only vaccine available is a -80-degree vaccine. The demand for -80 will be limited to about 24 months, as mentioned before, because as they become more stable, the demand for -20 or frozen, or even +4 or refrigerated will start coming in, and the -80 vaccine may move away down the line. But the demand is not centralized. We don't have everyone living in one city, bring it in and vaccinate everyone. And in Africa, we have real challenges when it comes to far outlying rural areas. So therefore, infrastructure is poor, limited skilled workers with experience in the storage and handling of distribution of vaccines, and therefore even greater limitations in handling a product that is -80 degrees Celsius. Access to temperature controlled vehicles is very limited, in most cases, none at all. But the demand for other pharmaceuticals is increasing. What we're finding is that the polio virus is mutating, but at the same time, giving the vaccine to areas of need is becoming more and more difficult because of the focus on the actual COVID-19 vaccine. And that's in the same case for antiretrovirals, same case for TB, etc. And lastly, a massive challenge we have in Africa is medical waste. Well, it's a challenge globally, but in Africa, it's quite unique in that in some cases, or in rural areas or far outlying areas, the medical waste is just buried right then and there. And we're not just talking about masks and gloves, we're talking about used syringes, and we're talking about open vaccine vials. So it's a massive risk. So how many all these multiple different challenges? We are basically saying that by utilizing the combination of our one solution, we're able to provide you with a solution that can adapt both from inter-country, within country, and then distribution to the last mile. So that could be, for example, utilizing our large double pallet loaders to bring them into country, then using those same units for long-term storage in line with our single pallet units, and then from there moving them into our smaller KT400 units, which is the ones that we're opening from the top. And at the same time, using those units to bring those temperatures to injectable temperature requirements. So in other words, we cannot put a -80-degree substance into the arm of a human being. At some stage, that vaccine does need to be brought to a 2 to 8 temperature. Our units can do everything. And then lastly, right at the very, very last mile, whether it's on the back of a motorbike or in the boot of a vehicle, we have a KTE from that frontline nurse able to then dispense the vaccines. And we can do all of this ranging from a -80 to a +25 environment. So we can then adapt. So how we got to -80 storage and the demands around the specific -80 and therefore our capabilities, we were approached by the largest logistics service provider in the world to provide a solution whereby they required a performance of 20 hours where there are delays in airports. Our solution achieved 96 hours. That's without any form of temperature controlled vehicle or any freezer or anything like that. It's just the unit alone achieved 96 hours at that's for -80 degrees Celsius. They then said that they needed the ability to easily transfer the product to temperature controlled vehicles. Again, because our units are standalone, you do not need to remove the cargo from our units and place them into a temperature controlled vehicle. You can simply place our unit onto a standard any general vehicle. But if you do have a temperature controlled vehicle, you would be able to extend the performance of that unit. They then required that the ability to transport that cargo at ultra low -80 degrees. Our units become the ultra low facility. So there's no need once it gets to the facility to unload it into an ultra low freezer. Our units remain the ultra low or -80 degree storage facility. Because it had to be a minus 80 degrees, we could not get away from dry ice. We had to use dry ice. But what we did is we utilized the bare minimum, should I say. When air freighting cargo, the maximum allowed volume or should I say weight of uh, dry ice allowed per consignment is 250 kilograms. So using that as a base, we created a solution whereby we only use 250 kilograms in one of our units. And through that, we've achieved the 96 hours outside of any form of a freeze or fridge or temperature control vehicle. But by placing that unit then into a minus 24 environment or a walk-in freezer, we were able then to create a storage solution utilizing the same 250 kilograms, but for now 10 days. So this is a quick little animation as to how our current or the old faithful, as we call it, a solution to the KT400 and how we've done it in the past. We utilize cardboard boxes in a specific configuration filled with dry ice. And then in that, we actually put the cargo itself with no additional insulation as the cargo directly in, with more dry ice on the top. That can then be placed in the back of any pickup or bakkie, as we call it in South Africa. And at destination, it can be opened, the top layers of dry ice removed, and the cargo box itself open, but not the entire consignment needs to be removed. We can actually now pick and pack. So this is a perfect solution for your drop-offs and multiple stop distribution of commodity. And it can be utilized for reverse logistics, whereby then the boxes of dry ice are placed back. And bearing in mind, they're in boxes, which means there's no risk to the handler, and the box is closed. And we've achieved performance of 7 days whereby our box is open and closed 30 times. And we can do that at minus 80 degrees. We've been doing that for the last 11 years. What we then did is we took our double pallet loader and we removed the plates and we utilized original 250 kilograms of dry ice, utilizing specialized trays, replacing the plates. And we then created a solution in order to transport the solution or the product. At the same time, if placed inside a minus 24 degrees Celsius or walk-in freezer environment, it then can be converted into a long-term storage solution. And you'll see that it's 100% validated, just as all other solutions. And we talk of 120 hours because that's what we saw, but we're achieving in excess of 7 days through utilizing through the solution. So the process would be that the unit is opened and the trays of dry ice are inserted. Now, trays prevent any risk to the actual user because they're not physically holding the dry ice whatsoever. And then the cargo will come along and the cargo will be loaded into the unit by forklift. Once sealed, that is a minus 80 solution, ideal for air freight. Once in country, however, and placed in a walk-in freezer, it becomes a long-term storage solution. And we have found that every 7 days is when you need to replace the 250 kilograms. And this is done as a simple process within a walk-in freezer where one person can do what you've just seen now in about 5 minutes. So it's a very simple solution, it's a very safe solution, and there you go. You have your long-term solution for ultra-low storage. From these units, you can then extract cargo into our smaller units, and those can be then distributed to other cities where they can then also be stored. And at the same time, from there, they can be broken down further, utilizing our KT400 units from an ultra-low solution gradually into a refrigerated solution, thereby bringing the injectable to the right temperature, and then utilizing the KT400s and the KTEs for the final distribution. So essentially, as explained now, bring it into country at all the multiple temperatures you may require, convert it into long-term storage at minus 24. It's a non-threatening working environment, no technical qualifications required, and it's a basic working requirements that are easily duplicated and managed. Stock is broken down as per the different orders and dispatched to multiple regional offices using smaller units. The KT400s then become perfect for your multiple drops, and can also be perfect for actually bringing it to the right temperature. What's also key is the units can be utilized for on-site refrigeration, where your frontline workers return for the day, they haven't necessarily dispatched all the vaccines they took out for the day, and they can then be placed back into the KT400 for storage until the next day. And then again, using the KTEs for the frontline workers. Another key issue is medical waste. because of our boxes being able to be completely standalone, there's no cross-contamination, they're lockable and they're traceable, and they're adapted to returning vehicles. In other words, what we're saying is when vehicles go out for delivery, they obviously have to come back. And when they come back empty, that's when freight becomes quite expensive. If you were to use our boxes as a form of medical waste containerization, not at temperature control, but sealed and locked and safe for use, those boxes can then be placed back on those returning vehicles, and medical waste can be returned back to a central point where they can be disposed of correctly. Which brings us back to the cost, and as mentioned before, we're looking at 15% of the cost of one upright freezer will give you the storage capability of 2.5 upright freezers. But at the same time, added to that, we're offering flexibility in trucking, in storage, and distribution. There is no redundancy risks because as your demands or temperature demands change and evolve, we simply then just swap out the -80 solution or the -80 plates. We put in our phase change material plates. So it is definitely a long-term solution and not just something that we need to run in once off and we sit with a massive loss to any government. So going back to this slide that we saw earlier, we're now transforming the -80 solution is as simple as replacing dry ice with our validated phase change materials. Same process of conditioning, it's the same performance again and again, and there's no additional cost or investment. One more thing I personally believe is quite important is that, coming from South Africa, there's this constant demand to try and empower people. And we believe that our units, because they are so simple to use, there's no risk, there's no risk to the user themselves, there's no exposure to any hazardous materials or anything that requires vast amount of experience and training. We're simply saying is that countries are able to then employ the locals for the distribution, employ the local that has a pickup or a small vehicle whereby a unit can be placed in the back. No need for a temperature controlled vehicle. Employ the locals to manage the boxes and take care of the boxes and handle the boxes accordingly. So we do believe that it's not just about getting the commodity there and removing the medical waste, but it's also about empowering people and making it as simple as possible for the country. So we believe it's a clear choice. From a South African point of view, we've already been audited and accredited by Fresenius Kabi Manufacturing in South Africa. We're used by Aspen Pharmaceuticals and Chemicals for all the exports, for many of the exports and imports. Imperial Health Sciences uses us as a primary bulk packaging solution, including the fact that they're now our accredited hub within South Africa. Amgen USA and Amgen Global have now accredited Tower as a thermal packaging solution because of what we've done in South Africa with Amgen South Africa. The likes of AstraZeneca are continually exporting commodities into South Africa. From a global point of view, 16 of the top 20 pharmaceutical manufacturers use Tower. 14 of the top 20 logistics companies use Tower. We have a global footprint. We have strong logistics expertise. Even though we're a thermal packaging company, we do understand how, the different challenges of logistics. We have in-country experience. And if you look at the far right here, you'll actually see that the likes of DHL have been testing our current solution for ultra-low. There is Mike Meakin's post. He's the Vice President of Global Quality and Regulatory and Compliance for DHL Supply Chain, where they tested our KTM42. And they achieved this performance of over 7 days. A lot of people say, what is our failure rate? We've achieved, and I do say achieved, I think it's a great achievement, 0.1% excursions in the last 10,000 consignments. So we are a COVID-19 solution beyond any other, but we also believe we're a solution that goes beyond the needs of COVID-19. Ultimately providing you a true door-to-door solution to freight, long-term store, and distribute not just the COVID-19 vaccine, but all your pharmaceutical requirements. Thank you very much.